What it do, chooms? Welcome to SPACEJB. I am your soon-to-be alien-taming, neural strikes using, bounty hunting cowboy host, Space Spiegel, and thank y'all for clicking this video. If y'all know some things about me, it's that I love RPGs and I love space. Can you see where I'm going with this? Well, hang on to those buttery biscuits because this is where the team at Bethesda is gearing up to launch Starfield. This relatively limitless space exploration project has been in the works for over 25 years, and despite a major delay after the Xbox game showcase, the feeling still remains that this could be one of the greatest RPGs ever made on console. Not only that, but most importantly, re-establishing our trust in big AAA launches. And in this video, I will break down the biggest wins from Starfield and how Bethesda may have just created one of the greatest RPGs ever. And with so much information to talk about and plenty of knuckle sandwiches to deliver, let's cook up those engines and let's take off. The team at Bethesda have been responsible for some of the best RPGs around, with 2 award-winning titles in Skyrim and Fallout. If we're talking New Vegas though, mwah! Chef's kiss on that game. Trust me, if you haven't tried it, you should. This team has created worlds that you could fully immerse yourself in, from the characters you create to endure the many ventures to the small details that gave each environment they created its own unique vibe. It was easy to get completely enveloped and lost in these worlds that you played in, and for the most part, it gave you the time to care about your experiences. Giving players unparalleled free roam capabilities, and some games giving well over 200 hours of content, the multitude of creators involved have been using all of that world building talent towards the release of this new RPG that I have been very much anticipating since its announcement back in 2018. During that time, with last year's display of gameplay footage and the info about the universe that would be Starfield, that showcase kinda left fans a bit divided. We got to see how this groovy galactic-sized game looked. When the first gameplay showcase dropped, the game at that point already, in my opinion, looked pretty amazing. From the design of the environments, depth in the character creation was absolutely jaw-dropping. But that doesn't mean that there weren't some fans that were pissed and ready to deliver the pain train like Terry Tate.
You can't hide, baby!
A few of fans' biggest concerns were the combat mechanics, being that the AI was on the struggle bus, non-reactive to gunfire. Bullets were passing through them looking as if they were hitting nothing at all before you would get a reaction out of the AI. Also, another concept that got a little criticism from fans was on how actually in-depth the 1,000 plus planets that were said to be fully explorable actually were. Though, yes, there were valid issues to have concerns on in the entire scheme and scale of what this game was setting out to do. Again, in my opinion, those things could have easily been tweaked and fixed over time, and I gave the game at that point a 8 out of 10. Originally slated to come out back in November of 2022, but after the original showcase, it was announced that this game would be delayed, and no date was given to us at this time. For other fans, especially those who have experienced the unfortunate trend that's been happening as of recent of games making huge promises, getting fans hooked with high expectations, to then release an incomplete hot mess of a game that had us fans wondering what the hell is going on around here. With such an ambitious sounding project like Starfield, it was easy for me to understand why they didn't want to risk falling under the same umbrella as games like Anthem or even my admitted favorite, Cyberpunk. The latter luckily was able to survive long enough to make corrections, yet for Anthem, RIP. Listening to what Todd Howard, the game director of Bethesda, said about why they chose to delay the game was what us fans really needed to hear.
It's not an exact science, but you can look at what needs to be done and the amount of time you have. And, you know, we've done it in the past where we can get it done. We believe we can. And so you're fighting that personal belief that you can get something done. But there's a lot of things that go into release date with marketing and publishing. And, you know, we've reached a point where on Starfield where it was pretty clear to us, even though you want to say you can get it done, that the risk involved with that to the fans, to the game, to the team, to the company, we're part of Xbox now, to everybody, was we should really move it and give it the time it needs.
During last month's Xbox Game Showcase, we curiously excited fans were treated to so much Starfield content. This included a massive 45-minute presentation and so many sandwiches that I'm delivering them hot to all of my subscribers. This Starfield Direct was a glorious look into what the team has been up to since the news of the delay and exactly the hit to the veins we fans have been jonesing for. And it truly was what stole the show for me. Todd Howard and the entire team displayed a masterclass in how and also why games being delayed can be a great thing. With this being Bethesda's most ambitious project to date, deciding to create an entire new universe, a new story, alien creatures, over 1,000 planets, and more for us RPG fans to discover already sounded like big promises that would have challenged any team, especially for a console game. Now that we are basically closer to only being a month away from the launch of this project, I honestly have to say, this game looked sexy as hell, and I'm talking woman in the red dress. But before we get carried away, this means we need to address the elephant in the room, the choice to lock the game at 30 frames per second. Personally, I see this as a win for all of us. Now wait, before y'all start busting up Schiffer robes and throwing chairs, hear me out. For some of those who have new gen consoles and or relatively decent PCs have been gifted the luxury of higher frame rated games. So trust your boy Space understands the need to say F that and dare not take steps backwards. Cause let's be honest, even though they were showing that magic and wonder of a game, when they said 30 frames per second, instantly our views went from this to this. We all were like, how the hell is that possible, and why can't we just get a performance mode? I went digging into some sources after the news came to find out what were the thoughts behind this move and if it was truly as bad as it sounded. Thanks to a few Starfield sources from both the crew and trusted gaming content creators, a main thing that I came across was why they chose to keep it at 30 frames per second, basically coming down to wanting consistency in the game's performance and not wanting to take away any of these major features that they've mentioned will be in the game come launch.
We do lock it at 30 because we want that fidelity, we want all that stuff, we don't want to sacrifice any of it. Fortunately, in this one, we've got it running great. It's often running way above that. Sometimes it's 60. But on the consoles, we do lock it because we prefer the consistency.
Yeah.
Right? You're not even thinking about it. And we don't ever want to sacrifice that experience that makes our games, really, really special. So, feels great. We're really happy with how it feels, even in the heat of battle. And we need that headroom because, in our games, really anything can happen.
With a gaming company that is known for its massive, dense, detailed, fully dynamic games where almost anything can happen, this makes sense from a company like Bethesda. This choice for this game really starts to make sense. Not wanting to sacrifice how smooth the game runs or how good small details look, how much of the game is running and can be run at the same time, like having to take on multiple missions at once without losing consistency in the quality of gameplay. We have had an unfortunate wave of games that pump out all of these graphically enhanced modes, yet haven't really done much towards adding more RPG substances to their game, leaving us with turds basically spray painted in gold. And ain't nobody falling for that shit. The goal for Starfield has seemed to remain the same, and that is to deliver the best space game that they could make in their own Bethesda way, and not having to compromise on any of the things that they wanted to deliver to us. One thing I thought was very interesting and very true came from Digital Foundry, and if you haven't watched their YouTube channel, well, who am I kidding? Everybody watches Digital Foundry. Where they were talking about how cool the decision for the 30 frames per second was and how much better the game has looked since its first showcase, but the one thing that was still a little bit off and was somewhat disappointing was the facial rendering.
And they do that here in many different scenes. And that would probably help a lot with the dialogue scenes as well. Mm-hmm. If it weren't for
the thing
one
in focus
issue, right?
Yeah.
The thing in focus.
The thing in focus is mainly the character faces and then the way they animate as they move. Mm-hmm. And it's very stilted. It's definitely the thing that has progressed least visually from their previous games. Not too far off from what you saw in Fallout 4 actually, and it's mainly it's not just the the game isn't perfectly photorealistic. I don't expect them to have something like an Uncharted or The Last of Us level character model they're animating to you. One, they're not doing a bunch of performance capture, most likely because there's too many lines of dialogue here. But whatever procedural system they use to animate the character's face to that dialogue, I don't know what it is. It doesn't necessarily work out too well. And with like the detail on the faces and the way that like the face moves and stuff like that, it's the thing that is most uncanny in the entire trailer.
The facial rendering is a bit funny looking when characters are talking and emoting, which will be hard to avoid in first person. But with everything that the devs have done with getting it ready for its debut come September, has put this game at a potential 9.5 in my book, and I'm talking pre-launch. Let's dive in and talk the ridiculous size of this game. It's pretty damn big. It might be too much for my PC.
That's what she said.
With sources showing that you would need at least 125 gigabytes of free space to even attempt to download this game. Combining a blend of handcrafted areas like the main cities and procedurally generated environments to bring Starfield's planets to life is something I've been looking forward to and is aesthetically amazing. The settled systems, as it is called in Starfield, will be the vast area we get to explore, with 100 different star systems and 1,000 planets to mine materials, discover new species of life, or even call these places home. The scale and size is thousands of times bigger than that of Skyrim, and if that game can take over 200 hours to 100%, the question is, how will Starfield compare? Todd Howard has stated that this game's dialogue in itself is bigger than Skyrim and Fallout combined. With all of the conversations you will be having in places like Neon, Aquila City, or even New Atlantis, which is said to be the biggest city that the team has ever created for any of their games, tied with the fact that there will be outposts, enemy factions, and random ships that can pop up on you while cruising the cosmos, will easily make this the largest game I will play up to this point. Between the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective, there are so many populated cities with NPCs living their own lives, dense populations, and each place having its own personality gives you the feeling you are both a small speck yet have a huge significance in what happens in this universe. With your task to explore the galaxy for different reasons will be challenging, and it has been said that most of the planets out in Starfield could be barren, resource-heavy planets only fit for mining and obtaining materials that will help expand your journey. There is no telling where you could end up in this simulated galaxy, or what planet you may choose as your base of operations. Scaling back on the star map, you're able to see so many different star systems. In using Starfield's grav drive, this allows us settled system explorers the ability to travel light years across this small pocket of the Milky Way. There will be some limitations from the start though as to how far you can travel due to your character not having enough resources needed to make each trip, which honestly I like because that makes every trip just as important as the last, and choosing both why you're traveling that far and where you're traveling to is going to be very important. From the vast vacuum of the cosmic ocean to each planet individually or its moon is freely explorable. If anyone has ever heard or played a game called Star Citizen, you will truly understand that having that much space gives you so many options on things to do, what path you should take, and what is all out there for us to discover. It is said that the exploration is so vast with this system at play that if another player or your friend lands on the same planet simultaneously as you do, they're going to have a completely different experience and time on that planet. Having more things to do in both on and off-world settings seems like it was something Bethesda was truly aiming for, and I gotta give it to them. It seems like they really nailed it. The Constellation Spacefarer you decided to create and using their systems is one of the most in-depth I've ever seen. The details that you can add to your character is next level. I'm not referring to the faces and how they look, but more so the details that go into building your Explorer itself, I think is a big win for Bethesda. Some of it looking familiar to titles like Elder Scrolls and Fallout 4. The main categories in biometric ID, body, face, background, and traits will be your foundation. Yet one cool thing is that if at any point you like to change your character's appearance, you can do so by visiting any genetic facility. Body is the next in line in the building blocks that you have the freedom to change. Deciding if you want your character to look more like a Marvel hero or a space pirate who drinks rum all day, a major deciding factor of your character and player's experience with this RPG is going to orbit around the background title. By choosing the career your farer had before the start of the game gives you a great narrative starting point. With all choices come 3 skills and grant unique dialogue and interactions with the NPCs. Meaning, depending on your choices, it can land you in a lot of money or risking all of those sweet buttery biscuits, potentially being stranded on a barren planet. Traits are the last bit and making a comeback from Fallout. Each trait comes with some bonuses. There are also some negative effects that can get you into trouble as well. As the launch date for this game gets even closer, it's harder to contain my excitement on this project. I'm already thinking of 2 different characters that I want to create. One being a groovy bounty hunter, and the other one being more like a average Joe turned supervillain or anti-hero. Taking ships, patrolling the far reaches of space, may even try to conquer a planet or 2, depending on which team I join, so watch your asses out there. We have the power to construct whatever version of ourselves we want to travel the stars in search of what could be out there, or we can just choose to sit around and mingle with other NPCs enjoying the fruits of our labor. There will be plenty of life outside of being an explorer on what looks like possible beaches and nightclubs. Giving players this much freedom is wild, and I can already see some folks creating all types of crews, with some of them potentially looking like the USS Enterprise. So Mr. Sulu,
let's punch it.
The skill tree setting gives a huge variety of options to combine with background in order to complete your character build. Using things from their previous Bethesda projects have created a whole new system to make a kick-ass character. Split into physical, combat, science, tech, and social, there will be a rank system with the skill tree, giving us not only the ability to pick locks, but we can intimidate other NPCs, or even gaining the ability to mind control aliens. Man, that would have worked in Prometheus. Us as players would have such a wide range of things to choose from, it will be hard not to get into parts of the game later wishing that you may have changed up 1 or even 2 of your skills. Using these skills to create a stealthy assassin, you know how I like breaking necks, or a politician that can charm their way in or talk their way out of any situation. Things like building outposts run by your crew or NPCs can help boost certain abilities, depending on their skills. Adding facilities like a science lab where you can experiment with resources extracted from the planet, or a military room where you can upgrade and fine-tune any of your weapons. With all of this said, it still feels that we're just scratching the surface. Ships are a huge part of this game, maybe the second most important feature in the game outside of your character. These ships can range from many different sizes, like a small fighter or a gigantic mothership, being that for a lot of us, this will be our second home or even one of the most important members of your space crew. Starfield's dev have seemingly put a damn near infinite amount of customization options into the ship design. Got this whole thing looking like Need for Speed Underground 2 of shipbuilding. So cue up the Yin Yang twins and let's get low. Having to consider customization options like landing gears, your cockpit, hab, or even your docker are going to be very important. There will be a simple form of building and upgrading your ships by easily clicking whatever you want to upgrade, or you can try out the ship builder mode to get your ship down to the exact details you want. Breaking up the ship into all of its parts gets me a bit excited and has me thinking which parts are going to be the most important. Learning from the previous showcase about the power allocation system, this is going to be very important. Depending on what background you have, coupled with the unexpected events in the vast ocean of space, makes me think of how important grav drives, weapons, fuel, the reactors, and engines will be. When cruising through the settled system, things may appear to be pretty breezy, cause when shit hits the fan, you gotta pull your socks up and start figuring out where to focus your power. Will you have the power to wipe out the enemies, or will you put all of your power towards fleeing? This really gives you the feeling that you are Captain Kirk talking to your crew, especially if you unlock the targeting control system. Being daring when adventuring solo sounds fun, but what happens when a piece of your ship gets blown up, potentially losing a couple of your crew members? This truly helps you choose between not just trying to only survive, but being smart enough to keep your crew alive also. Being able to buy and fix up ships from spaceports where you will meet different technicians to pimp out your ride or even sell it. Any of the ships that you battle to obtain will be completely customizable just as your own purchased fleet. With all of this said, if you could potentially have music or a radio to tune into, would add such a cool level of life to the empty, soundless void of space. One of the biggest overhauls I have noticed since the first showcase has been in the combat department. Shooting was one of the worst when the first round of gameplay was revealed. The combat looked a hell of a lot more fluid, both from the player and the enemies this past time around. Having a bit more weight and projectiles looking more impactful was a nice reveal. Combat doesn't just mean with humans or bipedal enemies, but there will be plenty of alien creatures out to make you lunch or just protect their territory. The movements, the way they look, and the attacks from some of these creatures make me a bit fearful of what planets I set up outposts on. We can mod weapons with tons of different options even when it comes to more close and personal weaponry. Sources from the Starfield Direct stated that this game by far has the most weapons and variety than any other game they have ever built. There will be something for all playstyles, giving suppressors and knives to the more stealthy, and a full barrage of explosives and high caliber weapon to all my Rambos shooting your way through any situation. The power of being either a pacifist or the most feared being in the cosmos is all up to you. Even something that looks like Starfield's version of the Force, shifting gravity and telekinetically manipulating your foes, will have us basically unstoppable. For all of you that are excited to check out Starfield like I am, I'm pretty sure you can't wait to dive into their photo mode, where we're going to be able to snap tons of amazing pictures of all the worlds and different things that we discover in the settled systems. And I'm most likely going to start a Discord just dedicated to that alone. Yet we'll also be able to share tips in anything we discover in this game. I'm looking forward to hearing from you all, and now I get to leave it up to all of you, my space nuts. Do y'all think Starfield is going to be the greatest RPG ever made? Or will it fall short of the marker? Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, first off, let me go ahead and give you a special thanks. It's because of you that this channel has reached levels that I never thought possible. And the best way to support the channel directly is to head on over to the merch site where you can pick from a variety of Galaxy gear that'll keep you looking fly all times of the year.
But I'm not a rapper.
And once you get your pack of swag, let me know what y'all think over on Twitter. I'd love to see y'all rocking some of the gear that was made by your boy SPACEJB. And for those who want to support me in a different way, check out my memberships. There's 3 tiers with tons of perks. They're only for people who can support in that way. It's not an obligation. So I thank you all again, and remember to spread positivity and love whenever you can. I can't even explain how grateful that I am to y'all. It's absolutely mind-blowing to see where this channel is growing to, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm sending y'all nothing but love, light, and gratitude. Make sure you tell the people around you that you care about them, even if they may not tell you what you want to hear. And sometimes what you don't want to hear might be exactly what you need to hear. Can you dig it? Hey, I'll catch y'all on my next video. Let's go ahead and end transmission, and I'm out. Peace.